So let's talk about the pain points in the fashion industry and what ChatGPT can help. So I'm curious, what do you think that pain points in the fashion industry you think that ChatGPT can be helpful the most? So why don't we start with the Agnes with your design?
Here, I think it can be very pragmatic solution for fashion brand using ChatGPT, and especially I think what fashion brands need more is probably something about benchmark or competitors analysis, for instance, really pragmatic. It means each fashion brand need to know what's going on in terms of product, in terms of market, in terms of newness, fabrics newness, and so on. And probably, and also it's the tool you are developing, Jiwon, somehow. You know, when you can manage together ChatGPT with the pictures of the competitors, with the data set, your own data set or general data set you can crawl from different places, it's probably possible to do to realize benchmark or competition analysis to get a very quick overview of stock, how you can manage your stock, how you can develop new product according the align with the market. And here it can be a little bit down to earth. It means no need to have very crazy trends, you know, but here just to know, okay, do I need to develop more cotton polyester or more organic cotton or this type of basic skirt or not? You know, it can be basic information we can get very quickly, almost in real time, due to ChatGPT using generative AI. This is the first level, and somehow it's the way fashion brands can survive, and especially in France, again, you know, back to France, because we have middle range brand here in France. It's a pure disaster for mid-range brands. You know, you have very cheap brand. We have luxury brands in France, and in between nowadays, we have nothing anymore. It means we can buy something €5 or 5,000 euros. In between, you have nothing because people don't want them anymore. And this is the first reason. Consumers are no longer have the potential to buy between mid-range product because it's too expensive. Either you are very rich, so you can buy Hermes, or you can buy Zara, or you can buy H&M or Shein, as everybody. In between, nothing. And this is the big problem in France, because brands were not able to adapt themselves quickly or quick enough, because probably they were not reactive enough, and they didn't get the right information at the right time. And the great opportunity with GPT, this type of generative AI, is the capabilities to give an overview of the market at a precise time to be able to let the brands anticipate the close future. And here, in a way, they can develop, I would say, a short-term collection. You know, sometimes it can take 2 years to develop a new collection, but here it can be 6 months, not 2 weeks. I'm not talking about the fast fashion or very fast fashion. I'm talking about regular brands with an ethical approach and sustainable approach of the market. And this way, using ChatGPT to give them the right trends in terms of product and stock management can be a very good way to survive.
So I'm going to ask just quick follow-up question. So because I am not expert in this industry, I'm just curious, how traditionally has been done collecting the data? So why is that problem? And you gave a good example, ChatGPT can help. But I'm curious how traditionally has been done in terms of the data collection.
Data collection, you have 2 solutions manually. This is the first, you know, and now we are jumping from manually collection of data to AI, automatized collection of data. Or the other way, you can track with your CRM, for instance, But what I can see in different companies I'm working with, they have a lot of data, but they don't know how to read the data. They don't know, they are not able to analyze data. They
That's where
don't
I
know
think that,
what to do with them. So you can
yeah, I think
imagine.
that's where the intellectual shortcut of, can you summarize this for me? What are my top
Exactly.
selling, you know, spring collection pieces? What colors, what SKUs? I think that there are tools out there. There's inventory planning, and what are those trends? We're talking floor sets that are being conceived years. You know, I'm sure a company that I was at, American Eagle Outfitters, they are so fantastic in terms of how multimodal their product, physical product development process is. They stitch everything. They do the fabrications, real high quality. That's probably not something you might easily think about when you think about American Eagle, but they fabricate everything soup to nuts. And so when you think about that holiday floor set, we're probably talking 2024, if not into at least spring 2025, just in terms of the way that they conceive trend, develop it, conceive it, and put it out there. So there's the whole inventory planning. What are the AUR? What's the margin? What do I need to sell in terms of units of this in order to make it profitable? There's the nuts and bolts of business fashion, but then there are the things that are those intangibles. What are the things that are going to resonate, the trend pieces? This is where I think it is very much art and science. What are those colors that are going to resonate? What is the shape of this? Is it a knit or is it a poplin cotton? You know, what is the thing that's really going to make this shine, I suppose? And then there's the actual everyday behavior of, if we're, you know, flirting with this recession culture where inflation is such that, do I really need to go out and buy a second, I'm going to pick on something, bathing suit? Or is something that, you know, I used last season in a, you know, charcoal gray ruched bathing suit gonna, you know, be perfectly fine? And I might buy some other kind of fashion trend forward with like a straw bucket hat or something. So those are those cases where it's difficult to pair the two. On the inventory planning side, of course, AI could be used there. You can't still replace going out there, getting curious, taking photos of lease lines, going on Metro to see what are the trends of how people are putting outfits together. What are those things, those moments of inspiration? What are those fabrications? Do I need an item to work harder for me now that I'm a mom and I might go from a boardroom lunch to go pick up my child and walk home or something? You know, so those are all those things, those pressures on items and decisions that I make every day. But at the end of the day, there's the allocation of, how do I get this inventory out in these units out into my floor sets, my lease lines. Even in the ship from store kind of mentality, I might have a tier 3 performing store that is my top in-store distribution channel, where I can send those units because they're centrally located, and I can mail those out to those who purchase those items online, saving my, you know, the box that gets, you know, skewed off the cargo ship and not have to discount it so heavily. So those are things that where, you know, that's a lot of components of, there's the utility and how I plan and leverage margin, both in the inventory planning and allocation and management of it and distribution. With the way the consumer wants to shop and receive that item and have it work for them. And then I just think there's the application of how, as a consumer, how might I want something to make myself feel special? And I, you know, at the end of the day, might consider a black blazer, but I have a sea of black blazers. So it's kind of like, can I take a picture of something and just say, tell me, you know, magical search. I love rag and bone. What is something I can add to my wardrobe that makes me feel special? And I want this thing. And how can that utility really magically come to life? But I think you're right. As a contemporary brand, I think there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of similar in the ether, a style echo chamber. It's what are those things that are really going to perform well for that brand? And that's where I think deploying something like GPT or this generative AI to help fill those gaps and figure out inventory or new fabrication or design.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's where I think it's going to be magical for the business and ultimately for a consumer who's really wanting that high performing, buy quality, buy less, buy few, but you're going to buy something that's going to last.
Well, first of all, Christina, you can never have enough black blazer jacket. They are not.
I will have you have a great conversation with family members who stage interventions all the time. So I appreciate it. But I agree.
And second of all, Agnes, I think it's super interesting. The problem is having too many data. And like whether you're big and especially if you're like smaller size, there are many D2C brands and they're so busy with the burning issues. So with all the data, I totally agree with you. ChatGPT does a pretty good job putting all the data information. Again, intellectual shortcut. I think we're loving that word. Make a summary.
Totally.
Make a summary of it, and then you get it right away. You can make a better decision, right? Not necessarily like ChatGPT make the most best like opinions or summary, but it does a good job analyzing quickly. So I can see that it's a super exciting. And I know we talk too much again, but because it's just too exciting, so I'm gonna move on to the next.
Yeah.
So Christina, same question. What are the pain points you think that ChatGPT can do the best job regarding to the product management or personalization?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing and the reason why ChatGPT is taking off, or at least we're talking about it in wildly different contexts and settings, is because of the too long didn't read, generally, directionally right with what we're seeing in terms of just everyday use cases about it. Now, there are some wild ones, but it's not any different than memes that have, just when you think about certain technologies in the past, it's entered the ether because the application of it is spot on, but yet at the same time, it's kind of wildly like, I never thought I'd be using this thing to do this thing. And so I do think it's the utility factor of, I'll pick on merchants as opposed to just product managers, but merchants who will figure out ways to use AI and generative technologies as an intellectual shortcut. What are my top selling SKUs? What is the highest rated? Where help me find some of those high return items? What was the issue? Was it fabrication? Did we just get the size wrong? Did we not, size model it across a different array of body types, that kind of thing? It could be really used to infuse, when you have this vast amount of information, give me the top 10 of these sets of questions that you can use to analyze and find the patterns in your data. It's more, is there something I just don't have the manpower to take in all of these data points and easily find that pattern to help me understand the why? Is this normal? Was this just a bad, El Nino winter where, of course, this thinner, lightweight sweater didn't sell because we needed to push the thicker ones? I mean, if you think about a use case of shopping, and I'm Patagonia, that could be hugely powerful if somebody, now Patagonia's whole bent is you don't need this jacket, but if you're going to buy it, here's where it's going to be most performant. And then you can consider, how amazing would that be if I was looking for a light, thin puffer jacket to understand the winter conditions that I have before I make that purchase. Again, another behavioral consideration. But as a merchant, obviously, it could be hugely powerful to have as a starting point, but you still need to have an awareness of what your business is. You still need to have an awareness of how your consumer shops your brand. what is needed, and again, how's the season going to be different from others, and how can you help somebody more strategically make those purchases. I just think it could be really powerful. And I'm always a proponent of anything to help give me a better start, and using data and come into a room to say, these are 5 top selling SKUs. For the first time, you know, we didn't have our hero item in these 5. You know, what is really happening here? And it just helps you kind of contextualize why is important for you to go figure out the answers to.
So I think the recurring theme here is the data, because like my example, like what I was gonna say is that also the pain point we're having is that not having accurate information. So fashion brands and retailers, we only guess, we only taking a guess why shoppers are purchasing this item, what they're looking for based on the click or based on the purchase. Not necessarily having like open communication channel asking, what are you looking for? Like, how can we help you? Right? But I think ChatGPT can open that up the conversation. So in a multi-users in the same time, shoppers feel more comfortable sharing. Like number one, the question I got from the users, how do I hide my tummy? Show me the latest, but I want to hide my belly, right? So those things like we don't necessarily can see based on the click or purchase. We can only assume. But if we have the channels, we have an open communication, we can understand better. So I think that having that correct information from the user, that can help brands and retailers a lot. They can build better product. They can make the customer happier. So again, the recurring theme is too many data or getting more accurate data. I think that's something we can utilize ChatGPT.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, I think you can conversationalize your shopping experience throughout. It's not just in this destination of a guided selling quiz. It's throughout. Like you said, people will definitely tell you what they won't wear before they'll tell you, oh, it's a new season. What do I want to feel? What do I want to wear? And I think it's a way of merchandising and helping to catalyze in a much more explicit way serendipity. You know, I might pass a storefront of something and that bubblegum pink cotton poplin dress might be appealing to me. I might cross the lease line, go in, try something on, and walk out with a white version of that, as opposed to the, on-trend color of the pink. But again, digitally, are there tools and ways in which to catalyze in that very conversational, this doesn't feel like I'm exposing all of my life's personal data, but doing it in a way that can help assist me throughout this? I think that's a great use case. And then on the flip side, as the merchant and as the site merchandiser, how might I take that data to really understand, and not sort of in the way in which we might personalize this site thereafter, but how can we offer something that's an offer, and that, again, very small bits of data going in as an input create a very delightful journey thereafter. So I think those are ways in which this use case can be applied.
So go ahead.
Sorry. It makes me think, ladies, what you are saying is really important. You are talking about multiple users, and immediately from the fashion, multiple users mean the supply chain. And we are talking about the supply chain and how we can connect all actors of the supply chain all together. Of course, we need to get in touch with the consumers and to know what they want. Is it the pink bubble gum and so on? But also to make a good fashion collection, a sustainable fashion collection, we need to know all of the actors and what's going on. And we need to be much more better connected all together. And probably GPT can be a solution to do that. And if I want to develop a new collection in a more sustainable way, I need to find new suppliers in fabrics. I need to find new factories, and so on. So we need to consider fashion as, fashion is no longer a property of a fashion brand. It's the supply chain itself, and all people are activated at the same time. And it's what you are saying, Christina, is good. It's GPT will change the behavior of people from the fashion industry. We need to be more connected together, to interact much quicker, and to make the delay shorter, to avoid wasting time, wasting money, wasting energy, and so on. So we need to, thanks to GPT, maybe we will change the way we are working all together to make the fashion, the ecosystem of fashion more, I would say more desirable, or something like that, you know, because the fashion has a very bad reputation at that point. So we need to make it brighter as before, or you know, we need to redesign the fashion itself. We need to reshape the fashion, and probably with the GPT, with the capabilities to manage a big amount of data, we can rejuvenate the supply chain of the fashion industry, the whole fashion industry.
I love the sound of the rejuvenate of the supply. I mean, doesn't that refreshing?
It is so refreshing. It needs to be much more nimble and responsive. And there's no reason why you can't treat the end designers who are fabricating those items in the same way you would talk to a consumer. In fact, I think that would make that system by which we place the orders and have the fabrication much more agile. And, you know, those human factors can't be underestimated. And so speaking to somebody to say, hey, the fabrication, it needs more pull here on the elbow, or what have you, you know, to be able to do that, I think would make for a much more agile supply chain and a much more human one at that. And that's where I think, again, you put all of the use cases and the power of what GPT can do and do well, and unleash that. I think it will create a whole new ecosystem and a whole system where consumer tech and consumer retail is really going to infiltrate all parts of the manufacturing of an item or a good.
So I think that's a good segue for the next question, or maybe you have answered already. But what are some of the challenge or limitation of using ChatGPT in the fashion industry?
Limitation.
So maybe
the fear of the unknown. You know, maybe it's just more of a mindset where that's not how we develop our product, or, you know, maybe it's not fully embraced throughout all channels or permutations of an organization to say, it's one thing to use ChatGPT to synthesize ratings and reviews data, to help reemerge, let's say, a fast-selling or best-selling cohort of an item that you have this season versus last. But to unleash it and showcase the power of, here's how we're going to use this in order to do that allocation, design, planning throughout all phases of design and manufacturing and delivery to an end consumer. I think it's just taking it seriously enough to say, hey, there's an applicability here, it's utility. And we want to encourage the curiosity, and here's a tool you can easily apply it to your day-to-day and let us know, did this help, harm, or was it delightfully uneventful? It was useful and moving on. You know, I think it's more the mindset and the fear and the disruption, like any new technology, of how it can be applied